Hello class, today we're taking a look at multiplying fractions symbolically. Our first question is the fraction 6/8 times the fraction 3/12. When we are multiplying fractions or working with fractions in general, it's often helpful to simplify our fractions before we do our operations. So 6 and 8 can both divide by 2 to make the simpler form 3/4, and likewise 3 and 12 can both divide by 3 to make the simpler form 1/4. From here, we can multiply our fractions. Our rule is multiply top by top, so 3 times 1 on top, and multiply bottom by bottom, so 4 times 4 on the bottom. 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 4 is 16. Since 3 is a prime number and 16 doesn't divide by it, that is our simplest form. Question 2 is a little bit simpler. We start with 1/2 multiplied by 4/5. Neither of those fractions can simplify, so we'll just get right into multiplying. 1 times 4 on the top, and 2 times 5 on the bottom. 1 times 4 is 4, and 2 times 5 is 10. Now this one can simplify at the end. Both the top and the bottom can divide by 2, and that gives us our simplest form, 2/5. Question 3 is 2/4 times 7/8. This one can simplify with the first fraction, giving us 1/2 times 7/8. 1 times 7 on top is 7, and 2 times 8 on the bottom is 16. And again, 7 is a prime number, and 16 doesn't divide by it, so that's our simplest form. Question 4 is 2/7 multiplied by 7/9. This is a good example of a question where we can cancel one factor on the top with one factor on the bottom. Notice that there is a factor of 7 on the top and a factor of 7 on the bottom. Anytime we have one factor on the top and an identical factor on the bottom, we can cancel those out. They equal 1, 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 1 times everything else doesn't change what it is. That leaves us with a 2 on top and a 9 on the bottom, and that's our simplest form. Question 5 is 4/10 times 1/6. 4/10 can simplify here, dividing by 2 to give us 2/5 times our 1/6. 2 times 1 on the top is 2, and 5 times 6 on the bottom is 30. And that can actually still simplify. Both of those are even numbers, so that'll give us 1/15 as our simplest form. Question 6. We've got 2/5 times 1/4. Again, nothing in those fractions simplifies, so 2 times 1 on the top is 2, 5 times 4 on the bottom is 20. Both of those can divide by 2, and that gives us 1/10 as our simplest form. Question 7, 2/3 times 3/10. Again, here we have one factor on the top and an identical factor on the bottom. There's a 3 on the top and a 3 on the bottom, and those can cancel with each other. That leaves us with a 2 on the top and a 10 on the bottom, and we can divide both of those by 2 to simplify and get 1/5. Question 8. We have 8/10 multiplied by 4/7. Let's go ahead and do some simplifying here. 8 and 10 can both divide by 2, and that'll give us 4/5 times our 4/7. There's no further simplification we can do, so we'll just multiply top by top. 4 times 4 is 16, and bottom by bottom, 5 times 7 is 35. And we know that those do not simplify, just looking at the factors that made them. 4 and 5 and 7 do not divide together. Question 9, we've got 8/12 times 1/5. 8/12 can simplify by dividing by 4. That's going to give us 2/3 times our 1/5. 2 times 1 is 2, and 3 times 5 is 15. Question 10, 5/7 times 1/3. No simplification possible there, so 5 times 1 is 5, 7 times 3 is, 21, and there's no simplification in that answer. Question 11, 4/5 times 3/8. There's no obvious simplification in the fractions, so let's just multiply. 4 times 3 is 12, 5 times 8 is 40. Both of those are even numbers, so we know that they divide by 2 at the very least. That gives us 6 over 20. Both of those are still even, and so we can divide those by 2 as well to get 3 over 10 as our simplest form. Now you might notice dividing by 2 and dividing by 2 is the same as dividing by 4. So at the start there, we could divide top and bottom by 4, and that would give us 1 in this spot and 2 in this spot. 5 times 2 is 10, and 3 on the top is 3. So that would be another way of doing that same question. 12, we got 1/3 times 2/6. 2/6 can divide by 2 top and bottom. To simplify, 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 3 is 9. Question 13, 3 out of 10 times 10 out of 11. Again, we've got one factor of 10 on each top and bottom. We can cancel those out. We get our 3 over 11. Question 14, we've got 1 over 6 times 1 over 4. 1 times 1 on the top is 1, 6 times 4 on the bottom is 24. Okay, moving on to our backside of our sheet, or our more complicated questions. Question 1 is 6 out of 12 times 2 out of 10. Well, let's simplify both of those fractions. Becomes 1/2 times 1/5. 1 times 1 on the top is 1, 2 times 5 on the bottom is 10. Question 2, 1/16 times 7 over 21. Now this is especially one where I don't want to multiply first. I always want to simplify first, because 16 times 21 is going to be pretty hard to do. However, I do know that both top and bottom here can divide by 7 to give me the simplified fraction 1/3 there. Now 16 times 3 is still maybe not the easiest thing to do, but at least there won't be any simplification at the end for us to do. Of course, if you need to long multiply, 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 3 is 3, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 1 over 48 is our simplest form. Question 3, we got 8 over 9 times 1 over 2. 8 times 1 is 8, 9 times 2 is 18. Both of those are even, so we can divide them by 2, and that gives us 4/9 as our simplest form. Question 4, we've got 11 over 20 times 4 over 14. Let's go ahead and do some simplification there. I can divide these ones by 2. That'll give me 2/7. The other thing I'm going to do here to simplify is I'm going to divide top and bottom here by 2, simplifying those two together. And that will give me 11 over 10 times 1 over 7. 11 times 1 is 11, 10 times 7 is 70. Obviously 11 being a prime number, so it doesn't simplify any further. Question 5 is 7 over 18 times 11 over 25. Okay, in these ones, let's look for any simplification. I don't see any simplification on the top or the bottom, really. 18 only is 3 and 6 are its factors, or 9 and 2. And none of that's going to simplify with anything on the top. So this is one where we have to work through all our work. 11 times 7 is 77, so that part's easy. 25 times 18, though, is a little bit more challenging. Let's long multiply that. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. Placeholder 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. 4, 5, 0. And I know that's not going to simplify because both 7 and 11 are prime numbers, and 450 does not divide by those. Alright, question 6. What do we have here? 3/15. That's going to simplify times 3/7. I'm going to divide both top and bottom in that first fraction by 3 to get 1/5. Multiplied by 3/7. 1 times 3 on the top is 3, and 5 times 7 on the bottom is 35. Question 7, I got 2/4 times 3/6. Let's simplify. 1/2 times 1/2. And 1 times 1 on the top is 1. 2 times 2 on the bottom is 4. 5/7 times 15/18. We can simplify our second fraction by dividing by 3. That'll give us 5/6 there. 5 times 5 is 25. 7 times 6 is 42. No simplification possible. Question 9. 4/8 times 3/4. I could simplify 4/8, but the other thing I notice is 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. Sayonara, they cancel. Gives me just 3 on the top and 8 on the bottom. 3/11 times 5/9. I don't see anything that can simplify there. I guess I can divide 3 and 9 by 3 each to get 1 and 3. 5 times 1 is 5 on the top. 11 times 3 is 33 on the bottom. So simplifying. Question 11. 2/14 times 1/4. I'm going to divide out here to simplify by dividing by 2. Gives me 1/7 times 1/4. 1 times 1 is 1. 7 times 4 is 28. Question 12. 1/2 times 2/5. Cancel your 2 on the top with your 2 on the bottom. Get 1/5. 13/7 times 7/21. Let's divide top and bottom of the second fraction by 7. That'll give us 1/3 times 7/10. 7 times 1 is 7. 10 times 3 is 30. And lastly, question 14, 1/3 times 2/9. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 9 is 27. And that's our simplest form. So working through those doesn't take us too long. There's a couple tricks you want to keep watching out for, like here, simplifying by canceling one factor on the top with one factor on the bottom, as well as simplifying a fraction or both fractions, like here, before you start into multiplying. All those things will mean that you have less simplifying to do at the end of your question, and means that your numbers are smaller and therefore easier to work with. Hope that helps.